Howdy YouTube folks, it's your neighborhood girl Ellen, or your YouTube neighborhood girl Ellen, if you want to call me that, Ellen's Life. And I thought I would start this video off with making another lighter video and wondering if you guys would be maybe interested in me doing some. I know a lot of people do this kind of thing, and I don't have that many vintage games and game consoles. There are ones I would love to own that I owned in the past that I will mention in this video. But for starters, I wanted to show you this one, and I may make a repair video on this. The back, where's the port? I believe it's this one right here is the one that is needs to be replaced because the actual cord that goes to plug into an outlet that plugs into here to power the game, and this power port right here, I believe this socket is worn out, so it wobbles because it's loose, and so I think the socket needs to be repaired because that part wiggles in there freely. And I may make a repair video on this, and during this video I may grab out some other game consoles that I also want to do a repair on. And I was thinking about doing a repair series on these, even though I know a lot of people have done it on the internet or on YouTube is what I meant to say, once I find said parts that I need for these. But if I was to ever get, say, like this one working again, and I will in a minute grab out games that I have for it, the only games I have for it. If you would want to see me maybe thinking of an idea of something to do on the channel, maybe do some vintage gaming, because I very much love retro gaming, and I feel like I may have stated this before on the channel, but I don't remember if I did. This particular Super Nintendo used to be one that my grandmother had, who lived in this house, and so it's a very near and dear special game system to me, and it's her exact one that she had. Over the years it's had a replacement power cord, and now I have to do the replacement socket thing. And yeah, I probably could go and look for another one, and I believe they make a retro reproduction version, but because this one was my grandmother's and it's very sentimental to me. I remember as a younger child, especially in this house, when she had acquired it when I was younger, and she would do it came with a Dr. Mario / Tetris combo game, which I'll show you in a minute, and she'd constantly be playing Tetris, and I remember she would get kind of frustrated a little when she would beat the game, because she always wanted to keep the game going, but for some reason when she would play Tetris, she would always beat the game instantly, get rid of all the blocks, like the intention of the game is. And that's just a fun memory I always remember of her getting kind of like, every time, like, I'd say, "Oh, Grandma, you beat it again," and she'd be like, "But I don't want to, because I want to keep it going." And she knew just the right, blocks to put into place. And I've, for years, have tried to beat it like she did, and I, to no avail. I don't think I've ever beaten Tetris. I may have once and just don't remember, but as far as I can recall and remembering, that's coming to the forefront of my memory. I have never beaten Tetris like she has, and I was so amazed by that, because I would play it every once in a while when she would let me and she wasn't playing it in her spare time, and I would try to do exactly that. Same with Dr. Mario. She was so good, she would beat it right from level 1 all the way up to the end, and she'd usually have it on the mid or hardest setting, and it was just so amazing to see her beat this game every time, because every time I would get to some of the harder levels, say for example also in Dr. Mario, by then my mind would have been kind of a little bit tired of playing the game, even though I kind of liked gaming as a kid, but not to like all the time. I like to split it up because that's the way my mind, I feel, has always worked, because I believe I've mentioned that I was diagnosed with autism. And so I think that's just something the way my mind was worked. But I just remember I would sometimes struggle, and when I would get to a point where I was getting mad, you know, like a little frustrated with a level of Dr. Mario because I couldn't beat it, I would stop. But every time she would always beat it right to the end, usually, until her eyes got tired. There were times when she would stop early if her eyes got tired, but for the most part she could, like I said, play Dr. Mario right to the end and beat it. I just thought that was so amazing. And then years later, a relative had given us a bunch of Super Nintendo games for this when they found that I was playing the Super Nintendo more, because my grandmother, I believe I've mentioned, had started losing her vision. It was macular degeneration. I believe I've mentioned that too. And so I ended up getting the she let me use the Super Nintendo, is what I should say. And so the relative had ended up giving us a bunch of games, which I will also show you. And one of them I do remember playing quite a bit was Super Mario World, and the second one was Donkey Kong Country, which I have. And then there's like a racing game that also came from another relative, and some other sports games. I've never really played them, but they're there. And so yeah, hold on a minute, I will grab my game collection of this and show you the ones I have that I would consider playing on this, because there's a few, but again, I don't have like an award-winning Super Nintendo collection, just to clarify that for y'all. And I also will say there's another game system, well, there's two other game systems I have that were ones I had a version of one as a kid, but long since gone, and then acquired more. So yeah, you'll see those, and I'll explain more in the detail about that, because those ones, I had them growing up, and then the original ones that were bought and new for my family obviously were long gone. But we'll start out with this. This is one I have here. This one I've played quite a bit when I was younger, and as you can see, that's got the relative's logo on, initials on it. And then this is the second one, that sequel to that. Sequel to that one. And also I have this, which was also from that relative, Dino City. I played it a little bit. I'm not that great at this one. This was the one I was telling you about, that my grandmother was, this was her favorite. That came with it from a relative who gave it to her that had it. Because this console came from a relative. Not the same relative that gave us these extra games, but that had it before her. And when the relative was going through some things, it ended up in her possession. And this is the game that came with it. And let me tell you, this, she was obsessed with this. She loved Tetris. I remember as a kid, we had one of the original black and white Game Boys as well. And we had a copy of Tetris for it, just for her to play at the house. We'd gotten it, because I was kind of into Tetris when I knew my grandmother was playing this. But mainly got it for her because I knew she really liked Tetris. So when she would come to our house to, like, say, watch me when I was a kid, I would get it out so she could play the Tetris game. And then this is another. game that also came with it. It is Miss Pac-Man, but it also features Mr. Pac-Man on there. And then this Mortal Kombat game right here was one that was given by the relative. And this one, I haven't played this one a whole bunch either, and I'm not that great at this one, but I would try my best to get better at it. And these, I don't know if I would ever really play this a whole time, just because it's not something I'm that into. And this one I kind of played a little bit, and I came close to beating it, but I didn't. And then I have 5 other games. So, I'll get out 5 other games. Yeah, 5. So, we've got in this game, which is Super Mario World, which was one I played quite a bit. I'm not the greatest at it now. Days I'm probably a little rusty, but... And then also this one, which I played quite a bit of. And this one, Yoshi's Island, I got pretty good at that one. I also had a version of the Yoshi game that was like a Yoshi's Island game for N64, which I also will talk about my experience in owning one when I was a kid. This one I picked up in recent years because I saw a YouTube video on it and really had to have it. This one I'm still kind of trying to learn the different phrases to beat the game. But if any of you have played Mario's Time Machine, you know what I'm talking about. I believe they made 2 versions of it. And this is the version with like the books and stuff. I think there's another version. If I could ever find it, I would add it to my collection. Just because I like historical things, and I think it's kind of a cool play on historicals. And then this one, which I played quite a bit of, and I also got close to beating when I was younger, but have never really beaten it. And it's, like I said, it's been a few years since I played this because of it not being in functioning condition. Sorry, I was hearing something out there, and I don't want to freak anyone out in this video. The next one, and I think I'll grab the tripod for this, and it could be nothing. It could be a family member that got up to get something. So I think it'll be easier. This is my Nintendo NES. I had one of these as a kid, and it was years and years ago when we lived in a condominium, and it's long since been gone. I think it got, so this is not the original one, but I remember when I was younger, in like my teens, I think it was, I really wanted one of those again for my gaming, because I was still kind of into gaming. And so I ended up getting one year for Christmas, which I was grateful for. And I got the Mario, the Duck Hunter / the original Mario for it. And I forget if it's in it. I think it's in another drawer. I'm trying to remember which drawer it's in. And I also have 2 other games that I picked up when I was younger for the NES that I have here somewhere, and I just gotta find them. I forget where I put them. Here they are. Yep, so I have this one, which I've played both. I'm a more fan of the Mario than I am duck hunting, because I'm not really a big hunter person. And then when I was at a sale one time in New York State with my grandfather, because we'd happen to be over there, and I think it was in Rouse's Point. But anyways, I got this one. And let's see, this one. And finally, the last one I owned for this. When I was younger and we had the NES, I had other games for it. Like when I had the original, when we had the original one was the Golden Zelda and Mario and this. And all 3 of these games that I got in New York, the person was just giving them away for free. I'm like, really? You don't want any money for them? And they're, no, we just want to get rid of them because the Nintendo NES is long gone from our family, from what they had been telling me. And that, because they didn't have the system anymore, that they figured the games were worthless and they weren't real titles. And I've played this one mainly for the World Cup Soccer, and I kind of like that, oddly enough, even though I'm not a big sports person, as you know. And I've played the Jeopardy one and tried to decipher that to the best of my ability. It's been a long time since I've watched Jeopardy. And so for the final game system I have currently that I want to get fixed and maybe do some gaming on, if y'all want, is my PS1. I have, for the PS1, because I had a PlayStation 1, that was one of the games I had when I was younger, but it's long since gone, and I had more games for it, which I think went with it. GTA 1 and 2, and in recent years, when I was younger, yard selling with my grandfather around our state, I found a yard sale and found this, and it needs work. What I am looking for is a copy of GTA London, and you're probably saying, why, you already have one? Well, this is actually a PC copy, and I didn't realize that I needed one that was specifically made for the PlayStation 1, because you not only, if those of you who are familiar with the game, need the PlayStation 2 copy, or the PlayStation 1 copy of GTA 2, and you also need the PlayStation 1 copy of GTA London, both to install GTA London, because if I remember correctly, it was kind of like an override to the GTA 2 game system when you did it, but you could still play your GTA 2 game. It's just it kind of like overrided it as you essentially, and somehow you had to download the GTA 2, like a save data file from it to like a card to your PS1, which I believe I'll have to get one of those memory cards for it, and then you had to have the London to go in afterwards to override that save. I don't know why they did that, and I guess that's the only game that Grand Theft Auto ever plans on making about London, because apparently after they made it, supposedly lore is that, I don't know how true it is, from what I've heard on the internet and seen in YouTube videos, is that after they made London, they didn't want to make any more London-based GTA games, which I guess I get it. But yeah, so I had one of those, and then, as I was saying, I also had a Nintendo 64. I had 2 of them to be exact. I had the first one that I had ever had when I was a kid, that was bought and new by our family. And then I remember having a second one that I had, because got rid of the first one, then I wanted a second one. So we ended up getting the second one. And then, or I ended up getting the second one, and I had masked games for it. And then that one I eventually got rid of. And I want to get a N64 again and get majority of the games that I had, like Mario's Castle, both Zeldas, the Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and the Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I'm debating whether I would get GoldenEye again or not. I mean, I did really love that game as a kid, and I still kind of like it. But I don't know if it's something I necessarily absolutely have to have. But definitely both of the Banjo-Kazooie games, and maybe the Gex game again, because that was kind of fun. And also Glover, if I could find a copy of that. And I'm trying to think of what else I had other than the racing and the Pilot Simulator 64, I think it was called, where you had like a hang glider, a helicopter, and like various other things. Maybe getting that as well. But I don't know if I would get either of those, because like they weren't my all-time favorite. But there's also some other titles. Like for PS1, I had both Rugrats games, and I believe I also had I saw the game recently, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. But it was like a game where you walked around a mall and you did activities. And you could do, like, change the fashion of your character. And it was a female character. And I'm trying to remember the name of it. But anyways, I had that for PS1, which I wouldn't mind finding. But I was also considering, even though I didn't really have it as a kid for N64, looking for any of the Rugrats games that were made for N64, because I really do like the Rugrats and I really want to try them. Like, one is Rugrats in Paris, and I saw recently on YouTube a video on that, and I think that would be really cool to play that one as well, because all of y'all who grew up on Rugrats know what I'm talking about. And then let's see, what else? I had some other games when I was a kid. There's one I'm trying to think of. It was kind of like Tetris, but it was a sphere. And then there was another one where it was like robots, and it was like you had to do something like defeating the robots. And then Clay Fighter 64, I had the first one. But yeah, those, I don't know if I would get any of those ever again. Yeah, when I was younger, I had planned, I think, oh, and I also had World's Not Enough, too, for N64. But I remember as a kid, I really wanted to get more N64 games. But by the time I was starting to amass N64 games was when they were kind of starting to stop making them. And I would pick up different titles at a local used game place that was in business in the city nearby where I live. And I was doing that for a while when I was younger, when I had my second Nintendo 64. And I'm just trying to think of some of the other titles, but I think I pretty much touched on all the titles I had from N64 when I was a kid. But yeah, so if you want to see videos on maybe some gaming, I know a lot of people do it. And if you don't, that's fine too, because I'm not a very big gamer as I get older, per se. I mean, I do play games. I'm not saying I don't. I currently have a Nintendo Switch that I play more of, and I have the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, which has Vice City, GTA 3, and San Andreas. For those of you who saw my short, I just recently got that. And as most of y'all know who have played GTA, like, out of those three GTA games, San Andreas is the GOAT, in my opinion, and majority of people's opinions. Vice City was okay, and 3 was alright, but there's something about San Andreas, and they added a little more you could do in that game. And so that's the one I had been playing the most, but today I kind of did some more of my GTA 3. But I may not do any videos on that, because I feel like a lot of people do those games on YouTube, and they're kind of nostalgic for me, but they're not like games I'm excited about playing all the time. But I also was thinking, because I believe I made a short, that I play this game called Palia, where I've been designing a house, and obviously you can choose what gender your character is, and you know me, obviously I picked female character, but yeah, and I've been designing my house also in Palia. It's kind of like, to me, Palia is kind of like a little better version in the graphics and design wise, I guess, or so to speak. And I say this because I did play it for a little while, especially when my nephew was younger, just to have something in common with one of my nephews, Roblox. But it's got kind of similar concept, where it's like you can buy into the game and buy things. But in Palia, there's like beginner outfits that you can get, and if you know anything, if you see me gaming, if I ever do gaming and that's something you want, you'll know about me, is that I don't tend to buy into a game. I tend to try to like raise in-game money, like playing it and selling things in the in-game sellable areas to make the money to be able to get the materials that I need to build the items that I'm building in the game. And if you do want me to do gaming, and maybe I can set up a tripod and do like a filming of my palia house, because I've been really hard working on that. I just got what they call the cafe curtains, put up small ones in the kitchen area of my palia house, and I started putting larger ones in the little dining room area in one window, but I'm still working on getting materials to build the second one for the window across from the dining room table. And if I do that and I show you the tour of my house, you'll see that my house is very quirky looking, because that's kind of what I am, like a quirky person in a way. So I try to, when I'm playing games like that, I like to build houses to my quirky tastes, and that's kind of what I've done in Palia. And it started out one way, but I kind of changed and evolved the house over time. And if any of y'all play in Palia, and you want to hang out and play, I can drop you my Palia name. I was going to use the name of my channel, mainly my preferred name, which is the beginning of my channel name, Before Life, and but Palia wouldn't let me because the name had already been taken, so I had to pick a different name. But if y'all ever want to play Palia with me, my Palia name is fregia nornhall, and I thought it was kind of a weird, cool spin on a Nord name from you would think somebody would use in Skyrim, for example, if any of you have played Skyrim. Yeah, so, and hit me up, and I will put that name in the description, so exactly how it's spelt, so you could look me up if you wanted to hang out and play on there, because it is something I do frequently. But not as often, but if I had people who wanted to hang out and play the game and messaged me on any of my social medias, I would definitely make a point to be on there if you wanted to, and we could help each other out at each other's houses, doing tasks to boost each other's houses, because I believe you can help friends water their garden and stuff like that, because I've been doing more of a farming aspect in the game, a bigger garden, because I find that's how I've been grinding to make majority of my in-game, the currency in the game, to be able to buy the crafting plans that they have and stuff once you build a crafting table and everything. And also, they're in front of your place in the game, there's a thing called a shipping bin, and it's like a giant chest, and you can put stuff in there. And I've been selling any of the produce that I've been growing that doesn't have the star under it. I've been keeping the star because you can also in the game, for those of you who know, you can make the seed machine that makes your own seeds, and I've been trying to make the star seeds because I feel like those bring the most value in the game, because they give the most focus on your focus level, the eyeball at the top of the screen. But anyways, I will drop in the description my in-game username, and if you want to find me, look me up and add me on there, you're more than welcome to, and we can play. I'm part of multiple different servers, I think, because as I see someone in the game that I think their style is cool on their character, how they created it, and I think that they would be someone that I would love playing the game with, that's what I tend to do. And some of the people on my list I haven't really played a whole ton with in a long time, or we just don't really converse that much, but they're still in my friends list, and if they ever hit me up and said, hey, you want to hang out, I would do that. And I'll do that oftentimes. I'll find random people and just do that. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers the video. And if y'all ever want to see me do any retro gaming, I've contemplated doing it on this channel because I see a lot of channels doing it. That's the only thing. But and why I'm swaying whether I would do it unless you guys really wanted to see it, or if you didn't, I wouldn't bother because, like I said, a lot of YouTube channels do it. But here before you is, again, my nest, my grandma's nest. Very dear to me. I think one of the first games I would attempt to do and beat would be, where did I put it? Oh, I buried it pretty good. Before I close this out, would be, here we are. Probably this one. And I don't know if I would do the Dr. Mario first or the Tetris is what I would feel, unless you guys wanted me to do something different first. But I feel like this would be the one I would love to do first, just because this one's the most nostalgic to me. And it's been a long time since I played this game. Very long time, and I'm yet to get back into it. But like I said, I think I'm gonna this one I find does work okay with it, but I find some of the other ones struggle because of that power cord piece, and I think I'm just gonna eventually have to replace that internal part, because either the solder gave loose or that part is just worn out completely, which I think it is, and it'll just need to be replaced. But once it's up and running again, I can start out with a Super Nintendo if you want, because I feel like that's the first one I want to get fixed anyways, because that's the one that is the most special to me out of my retro games, and I miss playing them. So anyways, YouTube folks, I hope you enjoy this more lighthearted video, and I hope to see you in the next video. And as always, keep your heads up, stay strong, all that kind of jazz. Have an excellent time, whatever it is, wherever you are. As always, sunshine, unicorns, and rainbows. And as I said before, if I have not showed it yet, someday I will. That magnet that I found without the magnet bits in it, that I may someday glue new magnet bits in, so that way if I have anything metal display wise in my future room plan set up for the house, after everything's reorganized, I can maybe put that magnet where you can see it, so it can kind of be a trademark to the channel, because I think it's kind of cool. It reminds me of like something you would see on the Care Bears, where there's the two clouds and the perfect rainbow. But yeah, anyways, I will see you in the next video, and as always, yeah, I will, okay, so how should I end this? So yeah, bye for now.